One question, Vidit, you said that you sent the link to all participants, not participants, for the panelists without registration, right? Because Dana didn't...
Нет, я registered. Не registered, а почему-то мне эта ссылка не приходила, помнишь? Поэтому я получила уведомление.
Уважаемые коллеги, здравствуйте. У нас сессия начнется в 6 часов, но подождем еще 5 минут, потому что у нас еще подходят участники. Уважаемые участники, здравствуйте. Я хотела...
Distinguished participants, hello to everybody. People are still joining us. We probably have 2 or 3 minutes, but once again, I would like to tell you, remind you that we have interpretation going on. In the bottom of your screen, you see the globe icon, and so you can choose between the English or Russian languages. Also, I would like to ask speakers and presenters to pose your questions, and in the course of your presentations, to not to rush your speech and allow some time for interpretation, because it does need some time for our interpreter to better translate and communicate your messages and questions. So let's wait for another couple of minutes. Could someone confirm that you can hear me?
Да, мы вас слышно.
Yes, we can hear you well. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you. So let's wait another minute, and then we'll launch and start with the welcoming words and presentations to follow.
Балжан, вам слышно нас? Мы, к сожалению, не слышали, когда вы говорили.
Да, Малика, вас слышно, и мне сказали, что меня слышно.
Да, я слышу обоих. Здрасте, это Бота.
Все, Бота, здравствуйте. Ну хорошо, тогда если у нас все спикеры...
А Малика, меня слышно?
Да, тоже слышно.
О, Манон, здрасте.
Привет, привет.
Hello, Manon. Yeah.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay, guys, then we are ready to start. We will not keep you waiting. And thank you once again for coming. We'll switch to Russian language. Sorry for that. Уважаемые участники, спасибо еще раз, что присоединились.
So, distinguished participants, thank you for joining our side event, which is called Visit, Publish, and Teach about the Aral. So this side event is held within the framework of the Globally Disruptive Tech Challenge 2021, Restoring Landscape in the Aral Sea region, which is supported by the DKU, the Global Landscape Forum, and our partner organizations in the region, specifically the World Bank. Also, allow me to say, to name some of our partners: the Central Asian Youth Water Network, Adam Dar Central Asia, who will be facilitating our discussion today, the Kawi Coop project, as well as the World Bank. Allow me to provide the floor to our speakers for the welcoming speech. First, to the pro-rector of the DKU on International Cooperation, Ms. Barbara Yanush-Pavlete. Please, if you can hear me, over to you. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Good afternoon, good evening, dear colleagues, to some of you, depending on the time zone. I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to hold the side event to discuss and review the approaches and their execution in the sphere of academic education in universities. Our today's session, as the Tech Challenge as a whole, is focused on the Aral Sea region, where all the projects implemented by DKU are located. Allow me to highlight the diversity of today's session's participants. It is not by accident. The experiences, the expertise of the academic youth, of university students when they go into the field, when they go to the Aral Sea region, for example, it is extremely important to collect samples, to do something with their hands, to see everything with their own eyes, and to conduct their research in the field. This is one of the goals of one of the objectives of our involvement in this project. The second thing is that all the research results and findings should be disseminated, should be published. And in Central Asia, we see a lack of exchange and dissemination of research results and insights. And we hope that another project that our university has been administering for several years, which is the Central Asian Journal of Water Research, allows students an opportunity to publish, to meet together, to review, and to discuss, as well as to receive assistance from more mature scientists, which leads us to the third objective, of which we'll talk today also, that the results of research and findings of research should influence, should change the educational and academic approaches. So they need to be mainstreamed into the educational process, specifically in the university education processes. So I would like to thank all our partner organizations who have been helping us to promote these processes in Central Asia. First of all, the organizations that are presented today, the World Bank, of course, and as Baljan has already said, within the framework of the co-op project, co-op, the plug and play, the Global Landscape Forum. So this is one block of our partners. The second part is the WeCo project supported by the EU. And I'm sure Valts will tell you more about that, on promoting sustainability principles in Central Asia, but they also focus on promoting sustainability and capacity building of environmental teachers in the region. And the last but not the least, which we'll touch upon today within the framework of this, our Central Asia Journal of Water Research, I want to thank CARC for supporting the journal and the journal team. So this chain of conducting research, then publishing this research results, and then introducing the changes and the findings of the research into the academic process are all intertwined. They're all components of the same process. So it was really great that we were able to get to this point of introducing or establishing this chain of between research, publishing, and implementing the results of the research in real life. So I would like to once again thank all our partner and sponsor organizations for all their support, and we hope that our cooperation collaborations will only advance and enhance in the future. Thank you very much, Barbara. I would like to give the floor to Ms. Malika of the World Bank, and actually the head of the Disruptive Tech Challenge. Thank you, Baljan. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I guess I will continue in English, since that we have, sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Manon, and thank you for having us today as part of the Global Disruptive Tech Challenge. I think the second topic of the side events as part of this Global Technology Challenge is very important, and it creates a lot of linkage with our challenge, but in different aspects. And somehow it brings me back to different parallel conversations we are having from the last few days. And in particular, I think the first one will be about planting seeds. I think Central Asia has been a wonderful playground to experiment new ways of cooperating, engaging youth, and even on education. And I think this is now bearing some fruits. And even if we didn't see the linkages straight away between, for example, the master's or academia degrees or research that was created, plus the practitioners on the ground, plus initiatives such as this one or plenty of others before, now I think we can see how the dots of the puzzle connect. And the beauty of this kind of initiative is that everybody is involved as well. So I think this is one of the points that I wanted to mention. And another discussion we actually had in the networking session just before was about sharing. And I think Barbara also mentioned that in her opening remarks. Sharing is very important. And we didn't have, I think a few years ago, we didn't have the reflex to share in a way that would be understandable for everyone. We were sharing in our technical language. We understand clearly where are the issues coming from, and we can express it in a technical language that the scientists will understand, but not in a language that the whole world could understand. And I think that's why bringing on board people who know how to tell the story and who can look at the issues with different eyes and share it with the world is also important in our sphere of activity. And I think this is also what we will see today with Adam Darfilm and also the podcast from this wonderful gentleman we met earlier today. So these are the key points, and I'm just feeling grateful to see all these achievements and pieces of the puzzle coming together. So really thankful for that and for participating in this side event session today. So good luck to you, and looking forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Manon. Спасибо большое. И тогда я хотела бы передать еще приветственное слово господину Валцу Вильнюсу.
Thank you, Manon. And now it is my pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Valts Vilnitis, the We Coop lead. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear participants. My name is Valts Vilnitis. I lead the We Coop team. This project is funded by the EU and it works in all Central Asian countries. I'm really glad to see so many of you within the framework of this side event, and you're so interested in addressing the regional challenges. The main task of our project is to try to help Central Asian countries in addressing a whole area of issues, not only environmental issues or the Aral Sea crisis related issues, also assist Central Asian countries in disseminating knowledge, information, and expertise, which the former territory of the Soviet Union has been experiencing a lack of. So we're currently conducting our trainings in the form of webinars because it's physically impossible to travel nowadays with all the pandemic limitations. But when the lockdown is over, with the support of the national governments, with the support of the academic community, we'll continue working on drafting the regulations and conducting all our other work, sharing our expertise, experiences of the new European states, I mean the Baltic states, of their experiences. For several years, we have been cooperating with the German Kazakh universities and executing joint academic and educational programs. And today we will tell you about one of our recent ideas or initiatives. Also, all the best to you. Good luck in your future endeavors in the Aral Sea region, and stay healthy and stay safe. Without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Almas Kitabayev for him to tell us about the project that they're implementing jointly with a group of other scientists and researchers. Almas, if you can hear me, you can start when you're ready. Good afternoon to everybody.
Видно экран?
Can you see my screen? Yes, we can. So, dear colleagues, I'm very glad to see all of you and to welcome you once again. Allow me to tell you about one of the initiatives of the DKU, which is the ISERA project. It's about education, it's about field research, it's about students and building their capacity. ISERA is translated as Ecosystem Society Economics of the Region of the Aral project. It's supported by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Germany, Green Central Asia. We also collaborate with the Central Asian Youth for Water Network. And we're also supported by the Kazakh Executive Committee of the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea and the Barsak-Kelmes Reserve, located in the Aral Sea region. The main task of the project is building the capacity of young researchers through case studies aimed at monitoring the current state and assessing the impact of climate change on the regional environmental and social economic security in the region, as well as working on the potential scenarios and potential impacts of these factors on the region. In 2020, we had 3 objectives. First of all, giving an providing an overall characterization of phytofauna and investigate the dynamics of the spread of saxaul plantations on the dried up bottom of the Aral Sea, to investigate the current stage of social economic infrastructure, including the dynamics of the fisheries developments in the Aral Sea region in Autalipova region, as well as provide an overall assessment of the impact of climate change on the region's environmental and socio-economic performance, and based on that, publish the research results in the Central Asian Journal of Water Research. As I mentioned before, one of the major lines of our work is focusing on the well-being of the population of the region, or the socioeconomic aspects. We plan to publish the article with the title "Life Activities of the Population Living in the Conditions of Water Ecological Crisis," based on the case study of the Aral district of Kyzyl region of Kazakhstan. And the name of the second article is "Favorable Climatic Conditions of Kazakhstan Area Aral Sea for Humans." 3 students participated in this research. They've surveyed local population. They've worked with local governance bodies, and based on the data that they've collected, they've conducted their research. The second sphere of work, forestry. 2 themes: the current state of ichthyofauna and the prospects for fisheries management in the Syrdarya River Delta lakes. So the students have surveyed several lakes in the Syrdarya River Delta, where it is possible to develop fisheries without harming the environment. The second theme, the efficiency of a hydroacoustic fish protection device installed at the Aral Dam of the small Aral Sea. We all know that this issue exists. Those of you who have been to the Aral Dam, which separates the South and North Aral Seas, you know about the fact that a lot of fish is transported or rolls over the Aral Dam together with water and dies in the southern part of the Aral Sea, because the water is very mineralized, because we're talking about freshwater species here, so they cannot survive in saline water. So designated fish protection hydroacoustic installations or devices were installed on pontoons. Currently, the system is undergoing testing and appraisal, and our team of students went there and they've investigated the efficiency of the system. Third theme, geobotanics. A group of geobotanics has worked on the assessment of the condition of haloxylon or saxaul plantations in the Kazakhstan's part of the Aral Sea region. These are the plantations that were established on the dried up bottom of the Aral Sea. Also assessing the overall condition of the phytofauna in the region, the condition of sand movement prevention installations in the region, preventing the transport of sand and sending of settlements and other facilities in the area. So this article was already published, and you can find it via the link that you see on the slide. So this is briefly about our DISRUPTIVE project. Allow me to remind you that to continue it this year and hopefully a couple of years afterwards, anybody can participate in the project. I mean, young researchers. Yes, we are focusing mainly on the young researchers interested in conducting their research in the Aral Sea area and who are willing to build their research and academic competencies. And we will have a special announcement at the DKU site about the continuation of the project this year. Dear participants, thank you, Almas. You can post your questions in the chat box. So the first question is, are there similar projects related to healthcare or public health protection? Yes. The first component of the project, which was the socio-economic development, within the social component, there was a project where we collected data from local authorities and assessed the dynamics and incidence of certain diseases among the population. How, for example, climate change and the crisis of the Aral Sea and the sand and dust storms impact public health. So yes, we conducted some research, some initial research related to public health, but maybe in the future we will focus more about this. Once again, if you have any ideas specifically on these theme of investigation, what about the nosogeography? There were, I think we've conducted some research with our joined with our Uzbek colleagues. I think the research was related to the fact that about the incidence of diseases in upper and lower streams. So I can say for sure that DKU is administering and supporting some research on public health. If there are no more questions in relation to Almas's presentation, then it is my pleasure to give the floor to our next speaker.
А вот тут вопрос, извините, Балжан, что перебили. Вот Айман Абсаттаровой ко мне, да?
There was a question from Ayman. Is it possible to get the link to this article that was published? Yes, it is possible. Allow me to give the floor to Malika, Autalipova, and Timur, Nisimbekov, founders of Adamdar CA. It's a multimedia platform devoted to people space.
И один из главных фокусов этой платформы — это именно проблемы экологии, в том числе вопрос, связанный с окружающей средой. И сегодня они проведут с нами
And
дискуссию.
people, so today they will talk about their experiences of participating in the trip to the Aral Sea that was organized by DKU with jointly with our partners.
Всем добрый день. Мы просим прощения за технические неполадки у нас, которые возникли недавно. Надеюсь, мы никого не задержали слишком сильно.
Hopefully, our technical issues did not hold you too much. As you mentioned, my name is Malika. My name is Timur. Hello to everybody. So you've mentioned our Adam RCA project. Timur will tell us about our environmental. In addition to social focus and cultural focus, environmental also manifests one of the priorities. It is devoted to relevant environmental issues in Central Asia. The special project is called Jersu, and we're glad and are thankful to the Aral Sea Summer School that were invited to participate in the expedition and in the school. And we were able to make pictures and video recordings of the first summer school in 2019. We were invited to participate in the expedition within the framework of the first Aral Sea School. It was an extremely interesting experience for us. We've put together a video about the results of this school. Hopefully you have seen it. If not, we can send you the link to you. Now, currently it's in Russian, and very soon we hope to translate it into Kazakh. And of course, we urge you to. We see that Baljan has already posted the link to the movie in English and in Russian in the chat box. So it would be interesting. As you know, many people participated in the school from 14 countries of the world. And of course, the time that we have today does not allow to discuss, to get the insights and feedback from all the participants of the school. They all have different education, different background, but we've invited some people to express their feedback. Botagos. So we have Botagos, Mirsaid Uzakov from Uzbekistan, and Almas Kitabayev, who you know very well, is one of the key organizers of the summer school. Once again, we would like to thank all the organizers and participants of the summer school. We hope that it expands and develops in the future. And now it is our pleasure to give the floor to our speakers for them to provide their feedback. So, dear speakers, dear school participants, the floor is open to your comments, for example, about how you've used the results, the outcomes of the summer school in your routine operations and work, and maybe hopefully you will disseminate the information about the school among your friends, among your colleagues. And could we start with Botagos Sharipova, because she has to leave soon, and then Mirsaid will continue. Thank you, Baljan. Thank you, Malika, Timur. Unfortunately, I don't have my name because I'm participating in another event, but can you hear me? Thank you for the invitation and having this opportunity to express my opinion. Indeed, the Aral Sea School was a breakthrough for me. I've been working on the Aral Sea Basin starting in 2011, but that was the first time for me to go to the area with a huge group, international group of specialists and students. it would be great to have another opportunity to go there once again, because I think that every time we go there, we see the issues with our own eyes, but we also find more and more information, more and more issues and challenges and problems that you want to investigate, that you want to examine and to learn more about. Prior to going to the Aral Sea area, when I thought about the Aral Sea catastrophe to myself, it was something very abstract. I tried to visualize it in my head. The map, the dynamics of the drying up of the Aral, of the bottom of the Aral Sea starting in 1965, but only when you go to these places physically, when you see them with your own eyes, when you travel from the airport to the sea coast, when you see what the situation is like kilometer by kilometer, of course, it gives you a totally different impression. I read a lot about the Aral Sea, about the challenges that the region is facing. It's not possible to cover everything on paper. The same as you cannot go to only one point on the coast and understand the sophisticated and whole intricate situation. It was great to meet and talk to various people. It was great for covering this issue as widely as possible. For me personally, as I mentioned before, it was a theoretical thing. It was like a 2D picture for me. After going there, I saw that it's a multifaceted crisis, multi-level crisis. As a researcher, for me, or it gave me a better understanding of the different angles that you can look at the issue at, look at the problem. A lot has been done with the support of the international donors and local organizations, national governments. A lot of effort are taken, but many issues still exist. And so a lot of work is still ahead of us. This is the second takeaway. The third thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is the cross-disciplinary nature of the expedition. It is extremely important to exchange your opinions, to exchange your knowledge within the framework of such journeys. It's great to have your peers next to you who live in different countries, who maybe represent other industries. And so talking to them and exchanging your opinions among yourselves is extremely important. This sharing expands our understanding of the situation and of the potential solutions. The different landscapes that we've seen there are different locations where we stopped. All of them were different. So being there and seeing them with your own eyes and hearing what your colleagues and your friends are saying, which might be different from what you think about it, since they come from other sciences, this experience is invaluable. And of course, it would be great to continue this initiative, to engage as many specialists, as many researchers into such initiatives, to conduct such multi or cross-disciplinary research. Thank you very much for your very interesting and excited message. Unfortunately, we forgot to introduce our participants. Autalipova Sharipova is a water specialist and consultant on water diplomacy and water cooperation. Currently, Bota Goss is studying in the Netherlands, doing her PhD. Mirsayi please say a couple of words about yourself for those who don't know you. Little technical remark, very important technical remark or technical comment. Please turn your cameras on if it is possible for us to be able to take a group photo. So, dear colleagues, those of you who have cameras, please turn them on. Ilya, Saxon, soup, okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile, cheese, say cheese. And second picture, 1, 2, 3. Thank you all.
Malika, вы хотите передать слово дальше?
So, what do we do next? Yes, Mir Said. Please share your ideas, feedback, and those of you who have seen the film, the movie, you probably remember his heartbreaking words. I'm sure today he has a lot to share as well. Hello. Hello to everybody. My name is Mir Said Uzakov. Briefly about myself. When I took part in the Aral summer school, I was the student of a university in Bishkek on security policy in Central Asia. My research focused on the Fergana Valley and security issues there. I also worked in a project on sanitary and agricultural water supply. The project covered Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. I myself am from Uzbekistan by origin. Today, I work as a UN consultant on youth projects. So work with Uzbekistan youth, with the Youth Parliament of Uzbekistan, with the Youth Advisory Council of Uzbekistan. I don't want to repeat what Bora has said, but let me partially support what she said, and once again highlight some of the things that I did not share at the time of while participating in the school. Malika has mentioned my heartbreaking statements in the video. I want to seize this opportunity to thank the producers, the creators of this video. So indeed, it is extremely important to attract specialists from different industries, from different sectors, and to cross sectoral research. I myself am a policy specialist, and in my work, I focus more on youth policy and engaging youth in different processes. And so for me, it was important to look at all these issues from the point of view of policy, because to an extent, I'm a politician or a policymaker. Very often, the decisions are made by top managers of our countries, national policymakers, by deputies of parliaments or members of parliaments, managers of authorized organizations. And so it's extremely important for us, the researchers, to understand that the policymakers sitting in their offices, and even having read through tons and tons of literature about the Aral Sea region challenges and problems and the crisis, the scale of the crisis there, they cannot get the scale of it or all the details of it, comprehend the complexity. But when you find yourself in the middle of a desert, which was a sea in the past, then you get these shivers and you clearly understand how bad the situation really is. So when your theoretical knowledge or something that you've read in a paper or report overlaps what you see with your own eyes. So once again, it's extremely important to get the practical knowledge. We've seen how people work in the Barsarkelmes Reserve, in the Aralsk, in the town of Aralsk, in other locations and facilities that we've visited, how they work in the rehabilitation of the Aral Sea dry to bottom. So, and potentially our leaders and youth leaders and policymakers could lobby for continuing these efforts. Very often, young researchers or young activists don't have access to top-level policymakers. I really like field work. So for me, it has become a great experience, and we continue our work with the team of specialists in Uzbekistan. We continue our work on water supply. We mainly deal with the rivers, but we also deal on with water and sanitation issues. And this circle, as we know, is quite closed, meaning that you cannot separate rivers, water, sanitation, and hygiene. So this is basically what I'm to say. Young specialists in whatever sector, in whatever industry, need to understand how things work in reality. That's very important. Thank you very much, Mir Said. We completely agree with you, totally agree with you. Almas? We would like thank you and your colleagues, your team that made the Aral Sea Summer School possible. It was an extremely important project that will stay with us until for the rest of our life. Could you tell us more about the feedback from participants? There were a lot of young researchers, specialists from different countries and different industries. What were their impressions? And what is the outlook for the Aral Sea Summer School? What are the plans for the future? Because when we were putting together the video, we said that this initiative will become a regular event. So could you tell us more about the prospects of the Aral Sea Summer School? Thank you, Malika, for your warm words. On behalf of our team, although the pandemic, we conducted the second summer school following all the pandemic limitations, but unfortunately we had to limit it to the students from Kazakhstan. The program was the same, the agenda was the same. So we went there, we've acquainted them with the daily life of people in the Aral Sea area, and in the future, we plan to conduct it every year. We plan to holding it every year, and of course, we'll do our best to ensure that, to expand it. I also want to support, to join the words by Mir Said and Botam, by saying that overall, in the future, the public and foreign donors should pay more attention to capacity building of the local population, local communities, because a lot of people are working on the Aral Sea issues. A lot of researchers are working on these challenges as well. There are a lot of different events, and initiatives implemented, but local communities are very often excluded from these processes, and very often local communities don't know about what is done for their good in the center of what processes they are located. So maybe it would be possible to hold training or capacity building courses for young representatives, for the youth representing the local communities. Because as I mentioned before, as of today, the majority of the local populations are engaged in poaching, illegal fishing, which of course harms the environment, and we need to change the situation, engage local communities and specifically the local youth in legal and environmentally friendly activities. So this is what I wanted to highlight briefly because as far as I understand, we don't have too much time left. So.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you, Almas.
Хотела просто посмотреть, здесь были такие комментарии к Малике и Тимуру от Андрея.
We have some comments in the chat box.
Объединение усилий.
So joining the efforts, right, of the platform and Andrei's platform on the YouTube or YouTube channel. So, dear colleagues, what I see is that our girls have a water cafe. Our colleagues also have another channel. My channel is more academic in nature, so I think that we should join our efforts somehow. Maybe the German Kazakh University could help us in joining our efforts. Yes, we support this idea. It would be great. Thank you very much, Malika. If you have anything else that you want to say, or somebody of the school participants want to say something? No, so far we have nobody planned. We once again would like to thank the participants, and we wish the RLC summer school expands in the future. And on our behalf, we are also willing to disseminate the information about the school using via all the channels available to us. So please leave your contact information in the chat box for Andrei and other interested parties to be able to contact you.
Малика и Тимур где-то, наверное, они очень воспитанные люди, то есть я хотел поблагодарить их за...
I would like to thank Malika and Timur for their movie on my personal behalf and on behalf of the group of people who have seen it. I think it was published only a couple of days ago, and I saw that its Russian version has already been viewed 300 times. So the word is out. The people started writing to me. Vadim, a blogger in Moscow. He works in Moscow. He's connected with Black Star. He dropped a message to me saying that he was really impressed, that I will be glad to spread the word further. And he also asked me to keep informed about the summer school. So it's just one of the examples how we can disseminate the information. I'm still getting feedback from other people who have seen the movie. And we've talked about it internally. The message itself turned out to be very unique, very catchy, very interesting. There's a lot of information about the Aral Sea and the Aral Sea catastrophe on the internet, but the movie turned out to be very much unique and very much original. And so once again, I would like to thank Malika and Timur for creating this movie. We've waited for it for 1.5 years, and now we understand that we did not wait in vain. A lot of work was put into it. Mir Saeed, thank you very much. We're really glad to hear what you're saying. Of course, it is also thanks to you, dear participants of the summer school, that the movie turned out so well. For different reasons, we've published the movie only recently, and we've just published on YouTube without a prior announcement for the participants of today's side event to be able to see it in English and in Russian, which are the working languages of today's event. But next week, we will publish the announcement about the movie on our platform, and we will open it for feedback. As it was mentioned before, we will soon prepare its Kazakh language version. Yusuf, do you want to say something? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes, we can.
Казахстанцы, не забывайте о людях в низовьях Амударьи, подключайте нас тоже.
People from Kazakhstan, don't forget about the people living in the lower reaches of Sirdarya, I mean, in Uzbekistan. Thank you, Timur. Thank you, Malika, for making such a great movie. Thank you for all those who have contributed to the movie and supported its production. It is my pleasure to give the floor to Ms. Altynai Yespembetova, who is coordinating in the work of our Central Asian Journal of Water Research. So all the work, all the articles that we've talked about previously were published in the journal that Altynai coordinates. Hello, dear colleagues. I welcome all of the participants of the side event. Thank you for your presentations. Allow me to briefly tell you about the Central Asian Journal of Water Research, published by the German Kazakh University. This journal's mission is very noble. First of all, what we try to do is to enhance the quality of research in the water sphere in Central Asia, as well as forge networks and collaborations among Central Asian and foreign researchers. I didn't see my screen. I didn't see my presentation. Aljan? I don't see it. Let me try once again. So our journal is unique. I mean, the journal is published in Central Asia, is that we directly support the authors. When an article comes to the journal, if its quality is not too high, we have a team of editors to ensure feedback from the authors, to ensure proper review in order to enhance its quality. So I think this is the main unique feature of our journal. Our journal was established in 2015. So far, we have published over 80 articles, with the main requirements being the geographic focus. So they have to focus on Central Asia and thematic focus on water resources. In this slide, you see a screenshot of our main page. This is the English language page. Please pay attention to the left side column where we have the latest articles. As you can see, they are in English. The most recent one was published about a couple of weeks ago. And then on the right-hand side, we have the news column. The journal is constantly working on various projects, including the special journal issue devoted to agricultural reforms in Central Asian countries in the course of the last 30 years, supervised by two professors, one from the University of Adelaide in Australia, and the second professor is our former Central Asian resident, Nadir Janibekov. So we plan to publish this special issue at the end of this year in December 2021. And then in the top part of the screen, you see the announcement about the best climate change published article in Central Asia. This competition is extremely important for promoting the work of our journal. This competition has monetary prizes. So I urge all of the participants of today's sessions to take part in the competition and to win. Next slide, please. Our journal is bilingual. We accept articles in Russian and in English. The articles published are published as soon as they're ready, after approval by editors. So after proofreading, after edition, and coordinating it with the authors. The articles are peer-reviewed. Publication of articles in our journal are free of charge. So the journal and the university covers all the expenses. It's the Kazakh-German University and their main donor or sponsor, Central Asian Regional Environmental Center. Every issue of the journal is to increase its impact factor. Currently, our journal is indexed in the Russian Scientific Citation Index and Google Scholar. All our published articles receive the DOI prefix from Crossref. So looking at the central part of the slide, here you see the articles published in the journal, which are most cited. So the highly cited article is the article titled Assessment of Water Quality and Quality Trends in Kabul Aquifers with an outline for future water supplies. So it's 15. And by source in Scopus, it was cited 5 times. So the impact factor of the journal is growing every year. And of course, our journal is becoming more known in Central Asia and globally. This year, we also plan to apply for Scopus citation. Our third strategic goal is addressing the Ministry of Education and Science of the Republic of Kazakhstan for our journal to be included into the list of recommended literature for Kazakhstan's universities. A lot of very important reforms are taking place in Kazakhstan. The list of recommended journals has reduced down to 5, and which proves that the Ministry of Education and Science is treating scientific research and published articles much more seriously. And so we hope to get into this list. The objectives and goals of our journal, of course, is first of all highlighting research on water sources in the region, familiarizing international experts with the scientific achievements of local scientists. By the way, many articles which are published in the journal are prepared jointly by Central Asian and foreign scientists, and we are really glad about the fact that such collaborations are taking place. Once again, our articles are published both in Russian and English. And third, strengthening existing professional networks to build a regional level scientific community. The editor team is very strong in the journal. Next slide, please. It's characterized by a very high Hirsch index. Valjean, next slide, please. Thank you. Once again, for some of the editors, it exceeds the Hirsch index, exceeds 30. So our editors are very scrupulous. You can see our dear Barbara Yanush-Pavleta, who is the pivot of all in the journal. She's the chief editor of CAJWR. In addition, we have 4 executive editors. Abror Gafurov. He focuses on climate and environment. We have a representative from the Netherlands, Dr. Jennifer Zering, and then Vasilios Inglesakis and Stefanos Xenarios from Greece. So once again, these are our executive editors, and I did not include the associated editors, which we have 10 of, and they represent various international research organizations. The majority of them are from Russia, but some of them are from Finland, Switzerland, Sweden, the Netherlands. So our editor's office is quite representative. Altynai, could you please? So I will go really quickly through the remaining slides. So once again, I would like to say, the filter journal, the peer review follows the double-blind format. It's when articles are reviewed by 2 independent experts, and one representing the Central Asian region and the other, the international scientific community. So for us, it is a little bit more complicated because we need to find 2 peer reviewers from Central Asia. One from Central Asia and the second one from a non-Central Asian reviewer. And so it's really hard to do that for Russian published articles. The journal publishes its article twice a year, so it's 2 issues per year. Those of you who have already published scientific articles know about the standard, the conventional circle or workflow of publishing. So an article is accepted by the journal, then the article is submitted to editors. Sometimes this process goes twice or 3 times. So we do it until an article gets to the proper quality, and then the article goes for translation and proofreading. The main criteria for us to be able to accept the article are the following. Next slide, please. So it's first, it's the theme, how relevant, theme relevance. Next criterion is clarity. Very often we run into issues with that. And so we try to enhance the quality of articles with high quality literature review. And of course, we have our authors need to follow the mandatory structure of the article, methods and analysis. The overall assessment and review includes the assessment of strengths and benefits, weaknesses, challenges, general comments. We prefer research articles, but we also accept review articles and brief notes. One of the articles directly related to the theme of our today's side event is 2 articles. The condition of sexual plantations in the Kazakhstan part of the Aral Sea region. It's already published. And then so the article on hydroacoustic fish protection installation will be published in the next couple of weeks. And then the environmental assessment of in the transboundary basin. This is one of the highly cited articles published in our journal. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Altynai. We have several questions to you. So one question is, how many times a year do you publish the journal? And the second question from Janai is, do you plan to include the case studies? As to the case studies, Janai, thank you very much for your question. Next meeting of the editorial office will take place on April the 30th, and we plan to discuss this issue then. And as I mentioned before, we publish it twice a year. This year, we plan to have 3 issues because we will have a special issue devoted to the agricultural sector of Central Asia. With this, allow me to give to the next presentation, which will be presented actually by me. I will tell you about our new project, which we implement together with the WeCop project, which is called the Academy of Environmental Economics for faculty members of universities in Central Asia. The project itself was incepted, so DKU is working not only on capacity building among students, but also capacity building of the faculty, specifically university faculty. And we've conducted various trainings, lectures, exchange seminars. We've developed methodological guidelines with different modules, as well as different events, networking events among the faculty and universities of different countries. So it was done by DKU independently and within the framework of various projects operated by the university. Some of them, these deserve special attention. For example, the teaching manual on the assessment of the relationship between water, energy, food, and ecosystem resources in the context of Central Asia. And we also have a master program at the university on IWRM, which is Integrated Water Resources Management, supported by EU, UNDP, and UNEC. And so within the framework of the project supporting Kazakhstan's transition to the green economy model, 4 modules were prepared on the political, legal, economic, and procedural aspects of integrated water resources management. So, based on the results of the previous initiatives, the idea was born to establish the Academy to exchange the EU experiences on green finance, innovative economic instruments, and incentives to achieve ambitious green economy goals. This time, we decided to follow a different path because very often there are a lot of educational materials, handouts for environmental specialists focusing on various environmental issues like water, renewable energy, land resources, etc., etc. So in this academy, we decided to focus more on the following specialists, on economic and financial specialists. And to share this specific knowledge from the point of view or through the prism of environment. So we opened an application call. About 130 people replied, and 71 applications were selected. This year, we have only Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan participating, so we hope that our Turkmenistan colleagues and participants will join, and we hope that this academy will expand in the future. So what is awaiting our future students? Based on this training, all faculty members will receive advanced training certificates. They will undergo 3 weeks training with lectures by international experts, and the academy will be in Russian, which will be probably most convenient for all the participants. The academy or the trainings will focus on the following sectors or themes: environmental economics, sustainable development, then foreign experiences. We will focus on the experiences of Central Asian countries, and of course, hands-on work or applied work, small group work for the participants, not only to be able to share their experiences, but also to see how these themes and subjects are taught at other universities and in other countries. So with this, I will finishing my presentation, and if there are no questions, I see some questions in the chat box. Do you plan to include a module on economics and finance and writing business plans? Since within this academy, we want to close the knowledge gap among the university faculty on climate change and sustainable development. Maybe in the future we will do that. Yes, maybe. So far, the curriculum has already been developed, and so we will start implementing it next week. Okay, thank you for your questions. I'm slowing down and giving the floor to our next speakers, specifically Saxon Bosworth and Nicholas and Nico. So over to you.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, good day, good evening, guests. Good evening, one and all. My name is Saxon.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicola.
And we are, of course, delighted to be involved in this side event and very thankful to the whole team, especially our friend Balzan, for inviting us to be a part of this. Welcome to our open talk. the Aral Sea, what was and what is what we're calling it. Firstly, I would like to introduce our special guests. We've already seen briefly Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf Kamalov is the chair of Union for the Defense of the Aral Sea and Amudarya, which he actually co-founded back in 1989. He's also a member of Council for the Eco Forum of Uzbekistan's NGOs. And secondly, we have Mr. Kermit Zalimbetov, who is the representative for the Moynic region of the regional branch of the Republic of Karakalpakstan of the State Committee of the Development of Tourism for the Republic of Uzbekistan. It rolls off the tongue very nicely. So firstly, Nico would like to introduce our film a little bit and how we got started.
Exactly, thank you. So to give you a bit of a backstory, Saxon and I met in July 2019 in a co-working space in Paris. After connecting on various topics, including wildlife, sustainability, and photography, we became good friends. And a few months later, in January 2020, Saxon was introduced to topics surrounding the Aral Sea and brought the subject to me. So as you know, like considered by former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as one of the planet's worst environmental disaster, it is paradoxically unknown by the general public. Over the months, curiosity transformed into fascination. We started to study the Aral Sea during our free time. That's how despite the COVID-19 pandemic, we decided to quit our jobs in October 2020 and left for Central Asia to produce our documentary called Mission Find Aral. So we arrived to Uzbekistan first, where we spent 2 months researching, interviewing various people and bodies, organizations, and filming. We are now on the late stage of production of our documentary. And now Saxon will talk about the two main pillars of our project.
Yes, so just to give you an overview of what we're actually looking to do with our film, Mission Find Aral aims to tell a personal yet forward-looking account of this environmental event. Our central storyteller is the 74-year-old ex-fisherman and lifelong Moynic resident, Mr. Anvar Bek, who walks us through his early memories on the water, up until his emotions today, bringing up his family in Moynic, and speaks on the hopes for the local people for the future. And then the second portion of our film explores the progress of the ongoing development programs, which obviously brings us here today. So in the beginning, we got connected with the UNDP, IFAS, various national initiatives, regional tourism boards, and beyond. And the final chapter, we look to follow a number of the participants in this very special innovation challenge. So now, Nico, we'll just introduce what we actually want to do with this space that we've been given.
Yeah, exactly. So what we would like to do today during this talk is first to understand, like, as many people know, the Aral Sea is both in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan. And for our talk, we would like to explain you the concept of one sea and two tails. Indeed, the situation of the Aral Sea basin is quite different in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan. And our talk will be focused on the Karakalpak side, which is in Uzbekistan. So thanks to our two special guests, Yusuf and Kermet, we will be able to understand more of what was and what is the Aral Sea basin in Uzbekistan. So while we are doing this live podcast, we encourage you to ask any questions in the chat. We will take some time at the end to answer to you, so really don't hesitate. It will be a pleasure for the four of us to reply to you.
Fantastic. So without further ado, we would like to say that, of course, we are students of this subject, and that's why we are so glad that Kermet and Yusuf accepted our invitation to join us today. And in the nature of the Voltaire quotes, to judge a man by his questions rather than his answers, we did our best to put forward some of the important questions that we've come across in our time. And of course, as Nico suggested, please do feel free to get involved at the end as well. So I would like to begin by posing a question to Yusuf. First of all, a very, very foundational question. When we first began, we saw this sentence of saving the Aral Sea. As time has gone on and we've learned more about the development projects, we understand it's more about saving the Aral Sea basin and ecosystems and supporting local people, etc. So first of all, I'd like to ask Yusip if he could give us sort of an overview of the story of the Aral Sea in Karakalpakstan. So if you wouldn't mind, please, Yusip.
Okay, thank you very much, Saxon. Yeah, oh, sorry.
So thank you very much.
Maybe better to speak Russian because it would be more quickly. I see that the interpreters are very much high qualified. I will. Дорогие друзья, большое спасибо за.
So, dear participants, thank you very much for organizing this event, this podcast for me. As a person, as one of the victims of the Aral Sea crisis, the situation is very much concerning because, frankly speaking, very little is done for forging a fundamental change in the situation in the country, specifically in relation to water. For us, these people who live in the lower streams of the Serdar River, the issue of the Aral Sea disappearance is a secondary issue because has become a secondary issue. Now, the pollution of the Amudarya water has become the highest priority. Several organizations are monitoring the pollution levels, but we need to take into account the fact that all these tests, all these analysis and monitoring efforts are all founded on the previous data. You know that we have the meteorological services and sanitary services, and of course they follow some parameters, but currently in the whole world and the Amudarya basin, pollution has become totally different in nature. For example, the solid organic pollution, and detecting this type of pollutants is really expensive, very complicated, and very often people don't, specialists don't measure. And so very often people, local communities don't know that the Amudarya water is polluted with these organic substances. Several years ago, Doctors Without Borders have analyzed the water in the main water sources of, not water sources, but products in Karakalpakstan. So they were able to identify several-fold excess of these substances in the food, milk, and other food products in the Republic of Karakalpakstan. So there was also a plan to conduct a separate conference to review and discuss these results, but it was canceled in the last minute. So the situation is that, imagine if the Amudarya River, you probably know some of the topology laws. It is a huge water body, and for topology, it doesn't matter what shape a water body has. So just imagine the Amudarya River as a huge lake. And it is shared by 5 countries. And of course, if this water body gets polluted, all 4 other states sharing the lake's coast will not be happy about it. With the Amudarya River, the situation is quite different because it has an elongated shape, and it's really hard for people living in the lower reaches of the river about their concern with pollution. So I think it would be great for our neighbors, I mean, the upper stream countries, to understand, and I don't mean only our upper stream countries, but Uzbekistan as well, that we are all full-fledged partners and equal partners in sharing this water, and we have the right to equal quality water. The residents of all our countries have the right to use high-quality water coming from the Amudarya River, and probably a lot of work has to still be done on the diplomatic political level. You also know about, maybe know about the PDK in Russian, which is the limited allowed concentration. So here we can imagine drinking from one bucket, and so your neighbor or your colleague drinking from the same bucket spits into it, and then you have to drink from the same bucket. And so this is basically the idea. Of course, you will ask for a different attitude towards yourself if you find yourself in such a situation. So we want to demand the same towards us, these living in the low reaches of the Amudarya River. It is not by chance that we have the proverb, which can be translated from Turkmen as they drink water in the upper streams, but they drink poison in the lower streams. So we need to combat this situation. We need to prevent the discharge of wastewater and various pollutants and poisons into the river for all the nations of the Central Asian region to be able to enjoy high-quality water.
Thank you, Yusuf.
Thank you, Yusuf.
Yeah, we are, of course, happy to have you involved in this event so that we can talk about this very important issue. And it's something that occurred to us in our studies and our research that, of course, it is 1C, but the priorities on the north and the priorities on the south are different. I think it would be a great opportunity to introduce our other guests now to give their perspective. So,
yeah, so we would like to ask a question to Kermet. If you can describe specifically the situation in Moynok, the lives of the people there, and how it is changing as well. So if Kermet, you can give us your opinion on that.
Hi, Saxon. Hi, Nico. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, здравствуйте всем участникам конференции. Можно на русском, да? На английском. Вот что хочу сказать насчет Мойнака. Вот Мойнак.
Очень плохо слышно.
Алло, слышно, да?
Сейчас лучше, спасибо. Вот так, если можно.
Хорошо, хорошо. Вот такое. Казахстан сейчас есть Аральск, город Аральск.
In Kazakhstan, we have the town of Aralsk.
Мойнак. Вот эти два города считаются
and Moynak in the Republic of Uzbekistan, which are considered to be.
В 60-х годах Мойнак был дан статус города.
So to say, brother cities. Moynak has become a city, a town in 1960s, and it was a large town. Its population was over 100,000 people. There were several large-scale enterprises in the town that processed not only meat and fish products, but produced other goods. It was an agro-cultural center as well. After the sea started retreating, the sea retreat became a tragedy for town dwellers. So in the 80s and 90s, the mortality due to water quality was the highest. Currently, the situation is slowly improving, and a lot of documentaries were made about the Aral Sea situation. In the course of the last 5 years, 2 UN General Secretaries have came to Muynak, as well as the representatives of other high-level international organizations. So the Aral Sea tragedy is on the agenda of many international actors, but we still don't have the sea. Instead, we have the Aral Desert. Its area exceeds 5 million hectares, and we are still living here. We are not planning on leaving our home. Our grandfathers and fathers saw the sea. They could go for a swim in the Aral Sea. I myself have never seen the sea, the Aral Sea, with my own eyes. I grew up seeing the desert instead of it. We hope that if not us, but our children and grandchildren will finally see the Aral Sea coming back and will live better than we do. In order to make this hope true, in 2019, the government of Uzbekistan has issued the law on the integrated development of Muynak district. So this law gave us a new hope. The law facilitated the adoption of several bylaws on, first of all, enhancing the well-being of the local population, on enhancing the quality of the drinking water supply, on developing the agriculture in the region, on enhancing the infrastructure, building cultural and sporting facilities in the town, 2 museums, several hotels were built in the town in the course of the last 2 years, for example. So indeed, although we live in such harsh conditions, the life is improving, and there is something to hope about in the future. Tourism has been developing as well. The ship cemetery is considered to be one of the main tourist attractions in our district. In the 1970s, there was a huge port there. The fleet included 500 different ships. Now we have only 13 abandoned ships left. So the remains of the ships, of course, not the operating ships, which are the main symbol of the fact that previously it was a bay and there was a port, and now it's the ship cemetery museum, which is yet another manifestation or proof of the tragic mistake made in the past.
Thank you, Kermit. It's a very powerful message. I would like to do the follow-up on what you were saying about tourism and the shipyard as well. How sustainable tourism can benefit Moynok and how it can benefit the local people as well.
Yeah, it's a good question.
To whom did you address your question?
That was to Yusip, but I think he might have just frozen.
Yeah.
So let's give Yusip, let's give Kermit a second to reconnect. Perhaps I can jump to the next question I wanted to ask Yusip. We already have questions coming in for you. So we're very excited about that. But
ну да, спасибо. Я пока Хурмет отмораживается, я пару слов скажу.
Yeah, let me say a couple of words and hope that Kurmet will come back. I think that any type of tourism, of course, it will bring benefits and will be advantageous for the area. You know that tourism in the Chernobyl region, the Ukraine and then Belarus is quite popular. So we already have a special tourist journey or program, the last glance at the dying sea. And so tourists can come to the Aral Sea region, to Moynaksk district, and examine the southern part of the Aral Sea, the so-called small Aral Sea, the water in which is highly mineralized. Indeed, although tragic, the place is picturesque. Very often I am the guide, guiding these expeditions / excursions, and people are very much impressed with the landscapes and terrain. It is quite an unusual place. So tourism, it is quite possible that tourism might become one of the income-generating drivers. Unfortunately, our decision makers are dealing the artifacts of the Soviet legacy in a strange way. The famous Renaissance Island, or the Ostrov Возрождения, which previously hosted a biochemical test site, it had a very good airport. They could be used for and it takes only 1 hour to get by plane from Tashkent to the Renaissance Island. Previously, it was a secret facility.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Yusip.
Спасибо.
We have questions from some of the guests, some of the audience. And in fact, one of them is, I know, a topic that's very dear to your heart. And this is, the question from the guest is that you have some very interesting articles about the importance of creating economic water mechanisms, which obviously we spoke about last time we met. The creation of a water market in Central Asia, something similar to what exists in Australia. We only have about 2 or 3 minutes left. So if it's possible, Yusip, to answer this question quickly, that would be incredible.
Thank you very much. It is my most painful topic, which I'm trying to develop during maybe 30 years. Yes, water market in Central Asia, in the basin of the Aral Sea, could be some of the solution of the Aral Sea issue. But unfortunately, we are bioeconomics in Central Asia were still in the past, in the Soviet time. And unfortunately also not by economics, but also by mentality, because many people cannot understand that what does it means, a water market. And it is, for them, it's impossible to say that water should be sold, because they said it is coming from the God, and it should not be, even should not be sold. And even very famous scientists, they are saying that it is not possible to organize a water market. But if you will see the so-called fundamental issues of the problem, you can see that the nature is not recognized somehow, somewhere, anywhere in the world. They're not recognized, the nature not recognized as an equal partner in economics. The nature recognized as just as a storage of some resources like water and something like forest and so on. And that is why we are not giving back the profit which we make by the natural resources back to the nature. And I hope that we will recognize RLC as a equal right partner in economics, and then we will give the part of the profit to the RLC. Let it be recovered, let it be restored as a natural ecosystem. And this is my main point of view, main statue. So the nature has, I think it has the same rights as a human being. And it should be realized, first of all, in Central Asia, because this is crucial place in the world. And if we will not able to save such a relatively small natural object like Aral Sea, so how we will restore, how we will save the planet? It is a big question.
I think it's an incredibly poetic and powerful message for us to end our speech on, because I understand that we're now out of time. But a big thank you to Kermit and Yusuf for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It was an honor to be involved in this side event. I would encourage any of the participants to look into Yusuf's work and have a read. It's incredibly insightful. If anyone would like to know any more information about our project, please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Mission Find Aral. And if you would like to talk to us about any of these subjects, we'll be delighted. So thank you again to our honored guests, and I pass you back on to Balzan.
Thank you very much.
Аральское море должно быть восстановлено.
The Aral must be restored by all means. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Saxon and Nico, for a very informative and very fruitful session. I see comments and questions are still coming in. For example, where you are located physically in Tashkent or in Moynaka. I've given them all your contact information. With this, I would like to adjourn our discussion. I would like to thank all the participants for your active engagement, and we invite all of you to participate in the grand finale of our tech challenge, which will start 7:30 p.m. Almaty time, where we will learn about the winners. Manon, maybe you would like to say something too. You have some final comments about the challenge, or maybe some closing words. If not, then once again, I would like to thank all the participants. What else? We had another side event where we talked about the Eco Talk project. So please provide your ideas, your suggestions, You can find the corresponding links at the DKU site, and you can fill in the application for participating in the ECHO talk. And we also urge you to publish your articles, conduct your research on water resources. Please go to our websites. You can find a lot of information there. So once again, thank you all, and let's stay tuned and let's stay in touch. Thank you. Goodbye.